What's going on, guys? So yeah, I'm back. Been a while since I made a video. A lot of stuff has been going on. Obviously the end of last year was pretty hectic. Again, always excuses. It is what it is, but I learned something quite interesting over the Christmas period, because for the first time in pretty much 2 years, I went back to Australia. And the question I always have going on in my head, and like the doubts I have around making YouTube videos, trying to, create content, gain followers, all of that sort of stuff. It's like, what can I actually help anyone with? I feel like I see lots of people on YouTube and they have so much to say and so much knowledge, and I'm getting so much help from them, so much value. And it's one of those things where you always struggle to figure out, like, what's the thing that I'm going to be able to give other people to do the similar thing that people have done for me. I think I've just come to the conclusion that literally me doing things in my life and experiencing things and then describing them and talking about them, the lessons I've learned, will help people, because I can just go through the process first. And you can almost have like a little path kind of laid, that if you wanted to do something similar to me, then you can kind of follow that. And this is just what's been happening for me. And that really hit home when I went back to Australia. So basically, end of last year in December, I had everything ready, have a new girlfriend now, and we both went back to Australia. Now, obviously, I've been consistently making 10K months at Imperium Acquisition. I'm a high ticket closer. I've survived many, many firing rounds. I made it through, one of the longest serving sales reps now at the company. Things are going well. And the expectations I had when I went home, and I've thought about it now, is massive ego thing, is I kind of hoped that people cared. And this is really interesting. Like, I went home and I was hoping that all of my friends that I haven't seen for a few years, even family, were gonna, celebrate my journey and ask me millions of questions and want to know how I did it and what I did. And that's what I was hoping for, because I wanted to be kind of like celebrated. And I was just had this expectation, which is ridiculous. When I think about it now, it's a ridiculous thing to say, because that's not how the world works. But that was my expectations. I was expecting that to happen, and I was also expecting it to still feel like home. And that was really interesting for me. I was expecting to go back, slot back in like nothing has changed, and neither of those things happened. And I had a very, very, very different reality which I was gonna face. And I realized that about 2 days in. So I got there and saw my parents, everything was fine, cool, really excited to get there. First 2 days were great. Third day, I'm just thinking, yeah, this feels exactly like it used to. This is home, and that's terrifying. Like, nothing had changed except me. I immediately realized there's nothing here for me anymore, like straight away. And then I went and saw my friends. I started seeing more people, like high school friends. I started seeing more extended family. And I really started to realize that nobody cares at all. And nobody cares what you do. Nobody cares how successful you are. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter where they're at in their life, where you've gotten to. If you leave and come back, nobody gives a shit. And I was kind of like a little sad, to be honest. Like, I was hoping for, for my friends to want to see me, or it's hard to put into words even, but the only word I can describe about my experience going back was just disappointing. The lessons that I have learned from this, and if anyone needs some encouragement about making a big change in their life, whether it's moving countries or quitting their job and starting something else and kind of going into that like self-isolating period for a while before you come back out of it, and kind of stepping away from friends or family, whatever it is, and you're scared about what they're going to think, you don't have to care about that, because they don't care about you. So why would you care about someone that cares about you? Now, that word care, like, obviously these people care about you. They want hopefully the best for you, but they don't care what the actual physical things you do are. It does not matter to them. They're way too busy thinking about their own life. So if you have any hesitations around doing these things, that you're worried that people are gonna, and look, in the short term, they might. Like, and I'll be honest, like, in that short term when I did kind of like start this journey, it was a lot harder. People cared a lot more because I was a lot closer with them in terms of like proximity and relationship, but especially proximity. But the further you take a step back, the further you distance yourself from, and the longer the time goes, you need to extend your time horizon. Things aren't going to be very different in 6 months, even a year, but 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, what you do in that time, people will forget. They will not remember, and they will not care what you did. And that was the most liberating thing that I learned, because now I was kind of having this like pull back home a little bit. You know, I was always like, should I go home? If everything fails, I can just go back home to Australia. It's a safety net, blah, 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 blah. But now, like, that's been snipped. Like, I can never see myself doing that anymore. So now I'm completely freed up to put everything into staying here and continuing to push and building my life here, you know, with my girlfriend, with the company, with my own, whatever it looks like, but I'm free now. The first lesson that I really want to get across is you will have so much more freedom. If you feel stuck, if you feel controlled, you just have to make the change, give it enough time, and you will be free. You know, things don't happen overnight, but over the long term, they do. Now, that was the first thing I've realized. The second thing I've realized is potentially going to be controversial if any of my friends or people I love or know back home see this, but that's just, it is what it is. And I don't mean this in like a mean way at all, because there is nothing wrong with how anyone lives their life. And I will take that to the extreme, because as long as you're living it with intention, or not even that, who am I to say what the right way to live your life is? I have an opinion on what I think the best way to live my life is, and I will share that journey, and maybe other people resonate with that. But when I went back, I was hoping it was going to still feel like home, and it did still feel like home, but in all the bad ways. And I saw my friends, and I went to one of their houses, and there was like a friend's Christmas party, and I may as well have been 20 years old. Like, 6 years had passed and literally nothing had changed. And it really hit me, like even down to the conversations that were being had. And it really hit me. There is no chance of growth in a stagnated environment. Like, if your environment stays the same, you will stay the same. Unless you like have an undeniable will and actively try to change. But for majority of the world, that doesn't really happen, I think, personally. And this stagnation, it just like sits there and it just kind of bubbles and nothing changes. I just feel like that was really scary. I don't know. Why would you want to live and die in the same place, in my opinion? And again, I'm not talking physically about the location, but the same place in life. You know, if I expand the time horizon another 10, 15, 20, even 30 years, based on the suburb that I live in and the people I've seen who are older, those conversations, those things, those stories, it all just stays the same unless you actively try and get it. And if that scares you, I mean, in my opinion, it should terrify you. Just do something. Make a change. Take yourself out of an environment, one step at a time. That is all it really needs. You just need a little bit of courage and a little bit of intention and forethought to make a difference. And you can avoid those things that I've realized, like the stagnation, or allowing people to control you based on their opinions. Those opinions will only last a short amount of time. You know, when you're in your 80s, the people that you cared about in your 20s that held you back from making a decision, they're either going to be dead or not in your life, or your closest loved ones who support you, or your closest loved ones who hold you back, right? So, and if they're the ones that hold you back, more than likely, as you get older and more mature, you'll figure out not to have them in your life anyway. So if you're sitting on YouTube right now, like I've been in the past, watching all these videos of Hormozi and Charlie and these types of people, and you happen to come across this video, and you feel a little bit out of touch with those guys who are so much further above than all of us, but you feel a little bit closer to where I am, because I'm not miles away from any of you. You know, I only do 10 to 15K a month. I only live in Europe, you know. I'm not some multi-billionaire or millionaire. I'm just on the journey. And if you feel a little closer to my journey, please hear this advice, because I think it will help. And I'm going to say it again. If you're letting someone else dictate your decisions, you're going to allow them to allow you to float through your life. And those cares and worries that you had, in 10 years, you'll look back and you realize no one cared anyway. So you may as well just do the thing that you want to do now. And if you don't make the change, you will stay the same, no matter how hard you try. Even when I did make big changes back in Perth, big things didn't happen until I moved. So honestly, that's kind of everything I was been thinking about. Got a lot to talk about this year, lots to document. So I'll see you guys on the next one.